Hello, and I am back here on the channel. It is the most earth-shaking, groundbreaking, electrifying YouTuber in YouTube entertainment today. The man, the myth, the legend, Leak Over Forth. And I want to say, I don't know if, this is going to be viewed until a little bit later on because this movie is still fresh. But I just saw Us for a second time, and this movie really needs a deep dive because this movie has so many layers to it, so much stuff going on that it needs to be thoroughly explained. And I feel this dark atmosphere in Lucille helps set the tone for the kind of movie this is. So in this review, I will be breaking this movie down to its bare bones, alright? And I will be going deep into what I feel the different philosophical meanings are and really taking it bit by bit. I don't know, I'll highlight certain scenes, but I want to really highlight the stuff that stand out to my overall message of what I think this movie is about. So, if you're not afraid of spoilers, or if you have already seen the movie, and if you want to talk about it and deeply explore the film, then let's dive right in, because I don't want to waste any time. Thanks, PB. Man, you are just a beast jumping in every stream. By the way, for all those who will review this later, this please make sure you go over and subscribe to PB, show him love. Great stuff. I'm really looking forward to the panel that I will be on with Thomas, Miss Nerd, or Miss, and gosh, why do I always forget names when it comes time to say them? I see them like 50 times a day. But, it's going to be a great panel, and we're going to be watching Dr. No, the classic Sean Connery James Bond. I look forward to everyone's input on this movie. I'm a big fan of James Bond, so we're really going to deep dive that baby. But let's talk about Us. Let's talk about Jordan Peele's latest foray into the horror genre. And this movie's kind of weird, because to me, it doesn't act so much as a horror as it does like maybe a thriller would be better to put this into. And it does have horrific parts to it, but I think the horror aspect is more psychological, hence the thriller aspect. So when we start off this film, we start off with this scene of this little girl, and she's down by the pier, and her family is taking her out. It's some kind of carnival setting. You get the setup of the family dynamic. Things are going well, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, dad and mom get divergent in their paths. The mom goes to the bathroom. The dad is clearly been drinking, maybe not paying the best attention to his kid. Kid wanders off, goes into a fun house. While she's in the fun house, she takes a look, and there is a reflection of herself. Now, this fun house has no mirrors, so it's like really creepy. We cut years later. They're driving, and it's assumed they're getting ready for a family trip. Now, this takes place in Santa Cruz, and it's mentioned several times through the movie, and it really sets a good tone. Because unlike Get Out, well, even Get Out, Jordan Peele has a thing where he can do horror without darkness. He can do horror in light. And that is a very hard thing to do, because a lot of horror movies thrive on the darkness aspect of their films. So to see a director manipulate a lighted setting is truly brilliant. Creating horror in a stunning atmosphere is much harder than one would think. Granted, some of the best stuff takes place during the night, but I'm going to highlight some of the day stuff. because there's little details that happen in broad daylight that you never notice the first time around, because the movie is busy. The movie's got you looking at so many things that you can easily mislook the little details, and I'm glad I viewed it a second time because I caught things that I was actually looking for this time around, leading up to our finale, which, my goodness, are we going to dive into that finale, because that needs to be talked about. So you have the setup, okay? Perfect little family trip. All right, we get a sense of the family. They're pretty down to earth. And I think the actors capture the normal down to earth of the family dynamic. And you know what? People go, oh, it's an African American family. How bold and courageous. I don't care about what kind of family it is. I care about the dynamic, because no matter what race they are, family core dynamics always stay the same. And people who have families know that. So if a director can capture that with an African American cast or a Caucasian cast, then I'm aboard. I'm paying attention to characters. And so far, the dynamics between these characters plays out like a family, okay? You've got the daughter who's very, like, preteen. She's very like, whatever, I'm going on a trip, I got my phone, yada, yada, yada. You have the son who, curses a little bit, father's yelling at him. You got the dad who's trying to be the hip, cool dad. He's the down-to-earth guy, really chill. And you got the mother. And the mother is the X factor. So keep that in mind as I go through the review, because the story is essentially about some events that happened to her previously that makes her uneasy about this trip. So you got the family dynamic set up. Okay, cool father, typical kids, mysterious wife, okay? They settle in this little cabin, this beautiful house. Yes, Lupita, thank you, because I want to give Lupita a shout out. That woman is amazing in this, and I'm going to get to why she's amazing, because she does something that Hollywood actresses are missing, okay? She adds depth in 2 hours to a character that would be extraordinarily hard to add depth to. Not just one, but two, because this film is about doppelgangers. So keep in mind, they're playing both their evil opposite and themselves. And that is hard acting. It is hard to make yourself stand out. To be an antagonist and a protagonist is extraordinarily hard. And they capture it well. Under Jordan Peele's great eye, they capture the little differences. But we'll get to that. So, they get to the house, and, the husband wants to go to the beach. He wants to meet up with his friend. They want to have a good time. And the wife is all like, no, we don't want to do this. Lupita had that bad experience. She's like, no, I don't want to go there. And through the charm of being the toxic males that we are, she gets goaded into going to this beach. And now here's where the story takes an interesting twist. And you'll miss it if you don't pay attention to the little things that I missed. Now the ending was much more clear to me from the onset, because I was looking for it where I wasn't before. So they get to the beach, and it's a typical day at the beach. And it's funny because there's only really 2 sets of family that are highlighted in this film. You have the Caucasian family and you have the African American family. And they come into the set about the midway. And the Caucasian family is so likable. Jordan Peele doesn't disrespect one race or the other. I mean, for a man whose first film was about equality towards African Americans, he plays the Caucasian aspect of it very beautifully. He treats them all equally. He does play the stereotypes, but I think he's manipulating the stereotypes more than he's highlighting them. And he's saying, this is the appearance. Thank you, Star Wars. I haven't even gotten really good into this, but glad to have you joining my rant. This is going to be a while, kids, so sit back. We're dissecting this film because I really need to. It's such a brilliant film. So, anyways, they're on the beach. They're having a good time, and it's funny to see how Lupita with her Caucasian counterpart, how they interact, and you see the differences. Lupita's very quiet, laid back. She's reading a book, she's drinking water. The other lady is like reading a style magazine. She's talking about this new face job she got. And he can put little bit of political subtext without making it overbearing. It's subtle, but it's in there. And I don't think it's a jab at one side or the other. I think it's just highlighting a stereotype of people in that area. You have the middle class African American family doing all right for themselves, and you have the upper class, but they're socializing. So within that, there's a deep meaning that there's socialization and that each side respects the other as family. And here's where the stupid critics don't seem to get what he's saying, but he throws enough buzzwords for the left to take their own spin and run with it. But us clear thinkers, we see the real dynamic going on. Okay, the highlight of this film, keep in mind the title Us, because when I get to the end, it's going to play a big role. So you have these two families, they're in there, they're having a good time, and then all of a sudden, much like in the beginning with Lupita, her son wanders off. And there's this moment when they slow the camera down, and even Jordan Peele's camera angles, everything in this film is done on purpose. Everything highlighted has a meaning. There is no wasted scene, no wasted camera angle. He wants you to see what he wants you to see when he wants you to see it. And he wants you to remember things and then come back to them. Such as in the beginning of the film, there's a boat. The dad gets a boat. You guys seen it in the trailer. It's not a spoiler. That boat comes back in later. So, okay, I jumped from the beginning to the middle here, but basically that boat is important. And it's so hard to break this down because there's so many little niche scenes like that. But, okay, so, you have a day on the beach. And the family's enjoying the day. The boy wanders off. He goes, starts walking. And now when they're driving to the beach, they see they see a ambulance, and in the ambulance there's this guy being hauled off, and he's got what looks like a wound in his chest. And they pass it by and they go, oh man, that's messed up. And then you get to the beach scene and the boy wanders off, and there's this guy, we can't see his face, but he's standing there and he's shadowed from the audience, but you could see his hand and there's blood in his hand. So Smart, thinking people are going to make the connection that this guy stabbed other dude, and that's why you saw him. But you see the connection there? If you're not paying attention, because it's so subtle, you don't notice the family glaring off at the ambulance because he switched your focus to a day on the beach and a boy going missing. Like Jordan's eye for little details and subtleties are showcased in this movie beautifully, and I think that's why I like this better than Get Out. Get Out was a glaring, obvious, beat you in the head with what he was trying to connect to. This one is a subtle style and subtle messaging that he's trying to get across to you. And he wants you to view it a bunch of times. He wants you to see the little things, and you can tell in his filmmaking. So I caught this, and now it makes sense to me. This thing that's been happening, it's not happening when you see in the trailers, when you see the family mirroring each other. It's subtly creeping in. This apocalypse, whatever it is, it's slowly making its way through the story, and we're not catching it as the audience. And the family isn't catching it because they're enjoying family time. And you're lured into a false sense of security until you get to where you're going, until he wants to drop the hammer down and get you tense, right? So you're on the beach, family day, the kid goes missing, and then this guy's standing there, very creepy. Lupita grabs her son and she starts shaking him and yelling at him like, where did you go, blah, blah, blah. Kind of flashbacks to her childhood. And then all of a sudden, if you look and they pan the camera over, the guy's gone. The guy is gone. So when she looks over, there's no one there. And this is old school horror / tension / thriller. We all saw this guy. It was a lingering shot. And then it switches between these two having a debate. And it's clever camera work like this Yeah, it's clever camera work like this that really sells the narrative that he's trying to tell. Now, the beach goes awry. Okay, things are tense. And there's little scenes I forget. Like, there's a song called "I Got Five on It," which was the name of my non-spoiler review, and it's because they're singing it, and it's more to the family dynamic, right? I can't highlight everything, but it's building the family dynamic. You're seeing they're a tight knit group. They go back to the house. The mom's still creeped out. Now, sprinkled in this movie are little details, okay? When they're on the beach, all of these circle things line up, right? The guy, the death of the other guy, all of these weird things are lining up. And she's talking to her son, putting him to bed. And she says, "Don't ever do that to me." And then she goes, and instead of yelling at her kid, the family dynamic, she talks to him and she goes, "When I was a little girl, I got lost and it was traumatic for me." And she gives good exposition about why she cares so much about him wandering off. And it's heartfelt and it's good. And then a little detail. She looks over at the clock, 11:11. Now, I still haven't figured out the significance. I want to say maybe it's a date to the beginning of the movie. He just drops these little hints in there, and sometimes it's never explained. It's just a weird sign, okay? But it's foreshadowed, and it's highlighted through this film. There's little details through this film where if you're not looking for it, all of a sudden it drops. And when you go back through and you rewatch the film, you're like, "Oh man, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I see that?" These were all like the signs right here. So she sees 11:11 on the clock, puts the kid to bed. The husband comes out, and there's a lot of humor in this. He drops a line, he comes out in his boxer briefs with just a shirt on, and he's like, "Hey, honey, what's up? We're in a cabin, let's get cozy." And she's not feeling it. She's by the window giving some exposition, and this is the comic moments that I like, because we've all been there, right? You're all set up, and then your girl wants to have the talk, and you're like, oh. So, dude sadly gets shot down. Okay, and she goes into the exposition about how she never told him, but a long time ago she got lost and she saw an image of herself. And she feels this darkness approaching. And she's been seeing these signs. And, I don't blame the husband. I think he plays it like every male would. He looks at her and goes, funhouse mirror? Maybe you saw it. She goes, "There were no funhouse mirrors, these signs, it's just, coincidence, come on. Let's go back to bed and take our minds off of it." But she ain't having it. The dude's getting shut down. And I felt for him. But anyways, back to the subject at hand. Here's where it picks up. So, homeboy gets shut down, then the lights go out. They don't have a backup generator. So here's where the tension builds. Everything's dark, everything's scary and spooky. And in one of the greatest scenes, Jordan Peele, this is where he integrates the humor great, okay? And the dad's not an idiot, but he plays it as if he's gonna use that trope, right? Because he's playing with the horror genre tropes in this. And he comes out and he goes, "Okay, everyone stay here." And the funny part is the wife's dialing 911. And he goes, "Come on, honey, we don't need to call the police, all right, whatever. We'll just handle this ourselves." And how when your wife gets worried, there's no talking her out. So he's like, and he comes out and he makes a funny line like, "Damn family vacation, and I can't get any rest." He's coming out, he's in a fluster, and there's the people you can't see, standing in the dark, most menacing scene ever. And it's beautifully interweaved with comedy, because he says, "Hey, what y'all doing here, it's late outside, can I help you, everything." They're not responding. And now the spider sense is going off, and he's realizing something's not quite right. And as males, our first instinct is to grab something and then start threatening. And it's all beautifully done. That's not a trope, that's not a stereotype. That'd be my reaction, okay? If someone's standing outside of my house and they're lurking kind of menacingly. I'm going back in the house and I'm grabbing something and I talk to you nicely. Now it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong, and if you're still there, I'm gonna take care of business, right? So he comes in the house, full toxic man mode, right? Some people would freak out, right? He comes back, full toxic man mode. He's like, nah, that's it. He's like, that's it. Forget the police. You know what? Grab the baseball bat. I'ma handle my business. And then he comes out, and I love how Jordan plays with the stereotype. You know, he gets the deep voice. Throughout this movie, this man did not have a deep voice. And then all of a sudden, he channels his inner manhood. He's like, yo, I thought I told y'all. I mean, it was so funny. And yep. And he's like, yo, I thought I told you all to get off my property. He goes, now if you want to start something, we can start something. I mean, oh my God. And I'm sitting there. I saw it before, and I'm laughing still at the line, because just the way they deliver lines, it's sensible. You know, you buy it. That's the reaction you'd have. So, you know, once he says that, the freaking kids scatter like spiders. When they move, they walk on their hands and feet. Freaking scary. That stuff scares me. It scares me unbelievably. I hate that spider crawl kind of walk. It's freaky, okay? It reminds me of The Exorcist, and that's one of my all-time favorite horror movies, and I still get freaked out to this day, okay? When people start walking backwards and all that craziness, I can't handle it. These kids do this spider walk so great. And dude freaks out. I'm freaking out. Audience is dead quiet. Okay, this is my second time seeing it, and I still, there were like 5 or 6 people in my theater, and this is late at night. So, you know, not too many people are going to see this at night. So, I mean, like, dude's freaky, alright? It's a freaky walk, and that's when he beelines into the house like any normal person would. And he goes, did you call the cops? And she's shaking her head like, honey, I did that like 20 minutes ago when you started on your little rant there. Which is hilarious, because family dynamic. That's what the wife would do, right? We're thinking like we're going to handle it, and the wife is kind of thinking rationally for us. She's like, I already called the police, and like we need to lock the windows, lock the doors, and, you know, and he locks the door. And all of a sudden, you can hear them moving, crawling onto the roof. The man's detail to sound. Horror is about sound. Being scared out of your mind is about hearing those little noises where you don't have to see what's going on, but you can hear it and use your mind. And this movie is all about the psychological. You toys with your mind throughout the entirety of this film. And the crawling on the rooms and the crawling through the back, you hear every noise. And you are terrified. Okay, so he locks the door, and what happens? They left the key underneath the plank. And I love how the husband highlights this, because as the door lock starts opening, he goes, how's the door opening? And the wife looks at him, the key under the plank, and he goes, what kind of white shit is that? And I'm laughing, because yeah, we leave stuff like that underneath the thing. You ever not be able to find your key and you can't get into the house? It's annoying. I've left my keys in some pretty, like, you know, very generic, obvious places. And the dude comes in, takes the bat, and cracks him in the knee with it. Oh, and the sound effects are eerie. So now you jump to the scene you've seen in the trailers, right? When they corral them all into the living room. And here's the thing. Throughout the movie, and you'll notice this about them, these things don't really talk. They kind of make groans and grunts, making it more terrifying. But Lupita, she plays these 2 roles, and both of them can talk. And when she talks, she kind of talks like that, you know? And you have to really listen to what she's saying. And to give you an abridged version, basically, she explains to us, the viewer, that they are both shadow selves. And she calls them the Tether, which is a beautiful name. Because when you get to the end, you'll figure out why. but just kind of think of it as a shadow self, right? You have yourself, whatever qualities you possess, and then you have your alternate self, the alternate self that gets all the byproducts, right? So if you're a nice, happy-go-lucky person, yeah, I smile, sunshine, rainbows, I'm not an SJW, you would have an evil SJW. Ha! Plug for all you SJWs listening. That one's for you. Anyways, so you have a duality, in a sense, and they're mirroring each other, and this is all of, they're supposed to represent all of the evil, of the byproduct of their counterparts. And they've been trapped, and they've been kind of shut away, and they're mad. And it makes sense. These antagonists actually have a pretty good reason for being upset, okay? They've been sheltered away from the world. They have been conducting horrible type of experiments on these things. And she talks about Lupita's duality. We talk about how the one who we see, you know, in all white in the previews, the regular mother, they talk about how she had good birthdays. When she gave birth to her child, it was a joy. When she met her husband, it was love. Now, on the opposite end, she met her husband through pain and suffering. Her kids are evil. Her birth was just crazy because there was no one there, and I'll touch why there was no one there later on in the video. But there was no one there for her births. When the mother had to have a C-section, the other one had to do it themselves. Oh. And the way she words it, your mind goes in, oh, man. And you know, they're using scissors. I don't even want to picture what that was like. And he doesn't have to get into great detail. Really, your mind does all the work in this film. So then they sick their counterparts on the other one, and it becomes a sadistic game to the shadow self, because they've waited all this time. They want to savor the moment of snuffing out the counterparts, and they're giving them a chance to run. He tells the girl who's a track star, start running, and the other shadow person chases them. She tells the little boy that, hey, you better play with my kid, and oh, by the way, he likes fire, so could burn the house down. Good luck with that. The husband gets dragged off by his shadow self to the boat. Oh, very important. Now, Lupita is with her shadow self, and the shadow self handcuffed her to the side of this table. And she's telling her story. She's telling about how it's time for the uprising, yada, yada, yada. They planned this out for years, and, you know, stuff's going down. Now, the husband gets dragged out, the daughter is running, and the boy's in the closet. So I'm going to touch each subplot here so that you know the details, because this is a very detail-oriented film. And God, when I did this breakdown, I didn't even realize how much detail there actually is in this movie to cover. There's a lot. So let's start with the daughter. The daughter is a really good runner. So if these are mirror images of themselves, you probably imagine that the shadow self would be pretty good at running. How you're hinted to this was the daughter books it, and I give her props because she runs like the wind and is halfway down the road, and you go, girl. You go, girl. You use them track feet and get to running, right? And the shadow self does a little with the arms, right? Does a little with the neck and takes off. And I'm like, oh my, this is not good. And this is the sense he wants you to get. He wants you to be invested in the characters, and I am. I had the little family dynamic in the beginning, and now I'm scared. I'm genuinely concerned. Who's going to die? Okay? Now, the husband who was dragged out, he's taken to his own boat. And there's a big joke about the boat, and some important details. The boat's motor stops halfway, and he has to pound it to get it to start, and it turns to the left. These are important details for later. So he gets dragged to his boat, and, you know, knocked out by this thing and whatever else, and they're doing their own thing, and the son goes into a closet. Now, this closet has a flaw in it. They have to put a little toy in the closet. If they don't, the door locks behind them, and they can't get out until someone unlocks it on the other side. Now, Lupita, the good one, being the main protagonist, she tells her son, who they seem to have a really good connection. So she tells him, show me a magic trick. And he's playing with this thing in the beginning that's supposed to, do, magicians do with this little spark thing, okay? So she's giving him hints to survive as she's trying to figure out how she's going to get unhandcuffed from this table. She's still coaching her son and trying to help him out. And I appreciate that. I see this as good character building rather than SJW because it's motherly instinct. Everything that's happening, you can buy her character because it's out of the love of her parent. Everything's about parenting in this film, and it's about the family dynamic. And we build trust through these characters, through the dynamic we get from them being related. And I swear to you, if they told me all these actors were related in real life, I'd buy it. That's how good they are at selling the dynamic. So the boy's trapped with this other boy. And here's the thing. Here's an important part that the young kid figures out that makes him really smart. He starts doing this thing with his hands, right? And as he's moving his hands, the shadow is moving with him, implying that there is a link. And Lupita's evil side makes a character how she wants to sever this bond, and they're called the tether. So in essence, they are literally connected to the host. So the boy, even though he's young, figures this out by simple little actions. And Jordan lets us know he figures this out. And once again, this will come back later. So the boy moves his hands, he takes his mask off, and you can see the tethered version of himself moving along with him. And this is all brilliant writing. It's all brilliant setup to explain things that'll happen later in the film. So it's not far-fetched or illogical. And I appreciate this type of storytelling. Even in 2 hours, he's able to put so much detail that interconnects, if you look for it, towards the end of the film. So, the boy's moving around, he finds the connection. Yeah. You have to really look in this film for the connections. So the boy, he's finding the connections, he's finding out how everything is interconnected. And now back to the girl, okay, because the girl's role, she gets to a part, and they're cutting between each of them brilliantly, so they're not taking you out of the action. They go fully through one scene, they cut to another. So you cut back to the girl, she's been running, she gets to a car, she takes a breath, and if you look, you see the other shadow self run through the freaking brush, as if she had made it to her in record time. So you literally can't escape him. It's not a Jason situation where, he pops up behind you and you're like, how the hell did you get behind me? These things are literally tethered to the person they're with. So it's even scarier, because no matter where you run, where you go, they seem to just know. They can follow you. And they've been building this connection to years with people to where they know where they are. It's like trying to literally hide from your shadow. You can't do it. And so no matter where she runs, essentially she won't escape this thing chasing her. And it jumps on top of the car, and there's a scary scene, and now here comes comedy again, a little levity. The guy comes out, and in the most realistic scene I've ever seen, okay, the tethered version jumps on top of the car, and the alarm goes off. And dude comes out of his house and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing on my car?" And it's not far-fetched. Someone is literally on top of the hood of your car. Any person who hears their alarm goes off would be mad and be like, why is this person jumping on the hood of my car at 12 o'clock at night? Right? So this person goes in, they're on top of the car, and quite literally, there's a sense of fear, because they have these scissors that they're using to, I assume they're going to kill people with, and she's on top of this car, and then jumps off, and the girl, in one of the most smartest moves I've ever seen a child do, she's like, I'm not even going to say run, hide, whatever, she books it, and leaves dude to his own devices, like, Good luck, bro. I don't know what's going to happen to you, but I ain't sticking around. And good for you, little girl. Good for you, because any of us logical thinkers would have done the same thing. I'm sorry, John, or Tim, or whoever you are, but hey, you're on your own. Good luck. And do get shanked, okay, with the scissors. No spoilers there. If there's a little girl on top of your car with a pair of scissors, it's pretty obvious where that whole thing is going. And the great part is, he doesn't really show much gore in this film, so it's even more horrific, because you can hear the sounds, but you can't see the action. So then we cut back to the father. The father's in a freaking, like, heavy-duty garbage bag, and very cleverly pokes a hole in the bag and quietly makes a little mouthpiece and looks out and sees the father clone driving the boat in the middle of who knows where. And, you know, there's a funny scene, and you get a hint of this invasion right in this scene, but you don't pick it up until you rewatch the film. He yells and goes, and then someone yells, and I didn't pick it up the first time. I just thought it was someone being sarcastic. But the real response would have been, hey, shut up, you idiot, I'm trying to sleep. But you don't get words, and these things don't form words, so you can't pick that up until you watch it again. And once again, rewatchability in this film. Lots of it. So he's doing his whole grunting thing, and Jordan is doing something smart. He's highlighting things that are going to happen. The creature steps on to the lifeboat things. You know, he's got the old-fashioned throw it in the water to save the person, but it's tied to a rope. And he steps in the middle of the rope. And the father looks down, sees where his foot is, looks at the bat. Now, he has glasses, so I assume everything's kind of blurry because he's got really poor vision. And he rips open the bag, goes for the baseball bat. The thing turns around and cracks him right in the head, right? And the motor stalled. Remember in the beginning of this, I told you the motor was faulty. The motor stalled, and that's why the creature was bent down, distracted. See, everything in this movie has a purpose. He doesn't just throw a scene in and waste it. He always makes everything come back to where we first started. And it's really brilliant writing. So then he knocks him off. He's all cheering, and the boat starts up again. The boat starts up again and knocks him into the water. And you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is where the creature gets him. And in hilarity, the boat takes off with the creature behind him, and you hear as the thing's on it, and it's hilarious. And the father's like all happy, trying to tread water, and then he's like, oh, the boat pulls to the left. And so it's coming right back at him. He can't see a thing, it's pitch black, and he doesn't have the glasses on. So this is real danger setup here. And he somehow is able to grab the side of the boat with a jacked up leg, mind you, and pull himself up. And he's a big dude, so, you know, he can buy it. And he stops the boat, and then all of a sudden it stalls out again. And, you know, he's doing the whole hitting it thing, and the thing jumps out of the water. And what happens? The boat starts up again, and it goes underneath the propeller. Great setup, and why I highlight that scene, great attention to detail. Everything in that scene had a purpose, and even from the beginning of the film, it connects to the middle. Everything has connective tissue throughout this film, with a longer story, but every little detail is well maintained and taken care of, and in its proper order. So there goes dude. Daughter escapes. Now we're back to Son. Son's trapped in the closet with the alter ego self. And, you know, he's trying to get this magic trick to work, and it doesn't work. And the thing is getting impatient. It's like, you know, it's making grunts. And at the last moment, the thing shoots out smoke, which is what the trick's supposed to do. And it startles the thing, because the thing hasn't seen anything like that. It's its first time above into our world. So then he takes the little micro thing that's keeping the door propped open and locks that little creature thing in the closet. Now, Lupita's alternate sees that the boy is screaming, and its instinct kicks in. I don't know if it's a motherly thing, but more of something's not going right. And as this happens, she uses that time to like kind of jar her from the table and, kind of get the boy, grab him up. And, there's a chase scene and yada, yada, yada. I don't gotta highlight that. That's not part of the subplot. You get it. They escape. Now, cut back to the Caucasian family who's in the mix. They are there, and this is the most hilarious scene in the movie. And yes, I know it's Caucasians, and there's sort of a stereotypical white guy kind of feel to it. Like, the white family is not obviously catching on to the little details. The generator flicks, they have a backup generator. The wife comes out and says, hey, I heard something. The husband's drinking, and he's like, I heard my drink. Why are you bugging me, kind of a deal. She comes down. There's a bunch of hilarious things I'm not going to highlight. It would take forever, but let's just say they come down. They're not picking up anything, and in one of the most horrific scenes, and they don't even show it, but the context is so horrific. The two daughters, they're twins. They're two kids, because everyone mirrors themselves. There's a lot of mirroring in this film. And so they have two kids, and the twins, like, mirror themselves, and, they're like, Mom, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, go back to bed. And they're like, I wasn't in bed. I was in my room, blah, blah, blah. And so all of a sudden you look, and in slow motion, they're playing the Beach Boys, Wouldn't It Be Nice? Or no, Good Vibrations. They're playing Good Vibrations. And everything fits in this, okay? Because I'm feeling those good vibrations. And then they kill the two daughters. They're sitting up there in the balcony, and all you see, scissors just come and just right in the throat, and they're done. That's it, finito. And the parents look in horror, and all of a sudden, they go down. And you're like, what? And that's when you realize this phenomenon is happening all in this particular area. In Santa Cruz, this thing is slowly creeping through to everyone. And these people are being highlighted, but it's implied it's happening all through this town. It's the beginning of something, right? So, cut back to to Lupita and the gang. They get there, and, they're trying to warn their friends. They knock on the door. Dude comes out, blood all over. By the time she figures out that something's amiss, well, she stabs him in the head with a poker. So good on Lupita, because she didn't waste any time. When she saw blood, she realized he was doppelganger. Whack! And doesn't do anything. These things can take an extraordinary amount of pain. It's like they feel nothing. And dude has a poker in his head and pulls it out, and then they pull her in, all the doppelgangers. And the husband, in a smart move, gets a divide and conquer kind of thing, and he starts whacking the bat and going to his best friend, come on, let's go. And the daughter and the son use this time to sneak in and try to save the mother. The mother is like trapped in the house, and it's a 2-story house. And they have to go upstairs, so the kids very cleverly arm themselves, okay? The girl grabs a golf 9-iron, and the boy grabs a little, like, rock thingy. I don't know, one of those fancy things that fancy people put on, it's like a statue, and there's a little rock on it. I don't know, white people. Anyways, they go up the stairs. They're hearing, like, the mom screaming. And wouldn't you know it, she couldn't get the handcuffs off. I assume the doppelgangers got them, so, again, handcuffed to something. Poor lady is never going to want to be handcuffed again. No pun intended there. Toxic, male stuff coming out there. I apologize. But anyways, so she's handcuffed again. And the daughter and the son now have to face the doppelganger twins. And one comes out, daughter takes her out. The other one does a handstand, like ninja style, behind them. And by the time she drops down and they realize that she's behind her, she goes to town, the daughter goes to town, the African-American daughter goes to town. Oh yeah, sorry SJWs, toxic male here, I apologize. It seeps through in my review. There's my plug for all the SJWs that may watch my channel, because obviously they troll me. So, she beats them to Jesus. She just goes to town on her with this 9-iron. The African American little girl, she just like takes out this girl, and you can see the subtle change in the characters as they're going through the story. They're slowly becoming more adept to this kind of killing these doppelgangers. And here's where another messaging starts to seep in about how the alternates are kind of infecting these people as they go through the story of survival. They're changing with the doppelgangers. They're becoming more cruel to adapt to what these things are doing. Okay? So the mother's tied up. The other mother's doing a bunch of freaky stuff. I'm not going to highlight it. There's so much subtext in there. You have to see the scene. But basically, she hears the husband yelling. Now we cut back to the husband. He's in the boat. And I got to highlight this. This is hilarious. So there's a joke about how he forgot to put a flare gun on his boat. So the white dude husband has all of the equipment on his yacht. And the dude remembers it. And he traps himself on the boat on purpose to lure this creature in. And you think this is going to be a Jaws moment, where he's got the flare gun and he shoots it and, you know, the shark blows up. Everyone knows Jaws. So he looks, he takes the flare gun, and dude comes in, and in the most realistic moment I've ever seen in a film, because if you're in a boat, the flare shoots upwards. It doesn't shoot straight. Okay, you're supposed to shoot them straight up into the air, but if you're shooting it straight ahead at something, it won't be that accurate. So he shoots the flare at the guy, and it falls at his feet. And I'm laughing hysterically because it's so accurate. Jordan Peele is so accurate in his depiction of these life and death situations. And now you got this flare, and the husband looks like, oh my God, my night it's just not going my way. I dealt with myself, and now this flare gun attack didn't work. But he's still got the baseball bat. I know, PB, I'm laughing. I am literally laughing to death at this point because he's thinking what every one of us would be like, oh, dear God. Alright, he's just got that, I can't catch a break kind of thing. And, you know, they fight and they struggle, they cut the scene. Okay, so we're in fear that the husband ain't gonna make it out of this one because his plan failed. Now cut back to Lupita and the King. They're trying to get through the house, right? They're trying to, you know, kids are trying to save their mom. And the girl, the daughter sneaks up on the doppelganger wife because she's screaming at the window like a mad person. And now, attention to detail. It's a mirror, okay? They're windows. You can see people's reflection. Thank you, Jordan, for not putting in nonsensical parts into movies, because he shows you that she can see her reflection, but the character, the evil doppelganger, plays it smart and just stands there blank. So as she swings that 9-iron, boom, quick turnaround, grabs it, and throws her on the bed, and has the scissors up like this. Well, there's the son. The son, very smartly, stayed behind, comes in, cracks the doppelganger mom in the head. Brilliant, just brilliant shot work, brilliant setup. Nothing is wasted in this film. It astonishes me. No little detail is overlooked to how these people are surviving. I mean, horror movies generally don't have time to put all this stuff in. You know, we're just supposed to expect or accept how people get out of it. But Jordan doesn't do that. He gives us a reason. He sets the bar for a horror thriller high because he gives you details of why the people are getting out of these situations. He just doesn't set up something nonsensically, and you can tell he had a lot of passion when he was shooting this. He had an eye, you know. He didn't want the audience to go, wait a second, well, how did the kid, there was a kid, you know, how did he go? He doesn't take you out of the moment. He keeps you in there. He keeps you engaged. So, you know, doppelganger madness, they get out, they undo the cuffs from the mother for the second time, but there's no key, so she can't freaking unhook herself from this one cuff. And they all go downstairs, and then they have a family meeting. Hilarious. family chat about what they're gonna do, and oh my god, it's just so brilliant. It's so brilliant that somehow he keeps the family core in this movie, even through some of the most unbelievable things. You are buying that this family is about to have a family meeting about the situation, and it's brilliant. It's lovely, it's smart. It really highlights what the core of the film is about. It highlights the fact that these characters are often in real danger, in real trouble kind of situations. So, they have a family meeting, and I gotta highlight this because there's a few things where the film takes a cool, nifty little turn. The husband is saying, let's stay in the house. We got supplies, we can wait this out. They watch the news and they realize this thing is spreading. And he's like, why are we gonna move? We can stay here and be safe. And the wife very smartly says, glass house, literally. The whole house has big mirrors and whatnot. She's like, these things can find us. We can't stay here. And the husband is like adamantly arguing with her, and then she just finally has enough and says, look, we are getting out of here, okay? And the husband throws a funny reference, which is acknowledged as a reference that kids wouldn't get. He said, why don't we just rig this like Home Alone? We can set up booby traps and stuff. And the wife gives such a sarcastic look at it, but just great writing. She goes, so your big plan is to set up a bunch of micro machines and trap them. And when you think about his plan, it really is kind of nonsensical. Like, yeah, you're gonna MacGyver the house with what? Where are you gonna find these things to set up booby traps? And it all makes sense. And then in a classic moment, the son looks and goes, what's micro machines? And the daughter goes, what's Home Alone? And I am dying at this point, because God, is that not the youth today? They would totally not get the references that we throw out there, and I love it. I love the fact that that the young kids don't get the references in these films. I mean, he just toys with everything, like pop culture, generational gap. It's a real family dynamic, and it's hilarious. It is brilliant, okay? They decide they're going to leave the house. Now you cut the day, and this is where he makes daytime haunting. And we're almost to the end of the film, so thank you for bearing with me. He cuts to daytime, and the daytime setting is just as haunting, because what he does is, in the light of day, they're driving, and you can see the bodies. You can see cars crashed all over the place. You can see some houses on fire, right? And it's chilling to see this once perfect neighborhood they drove into, where the cars were all in their right place, where people were playing and stuff like this, and you don't see that anymore. You see that these doppelgangers have literally taken out these people without them even realizing. This isn't a zombie apocalypse where you have some foresight and people are running and hiding. People are literally talking in the nighttime, in the comfort of their sleep. And by the time people realized what was going on, it was too late. It was too late. These things have already started their plan, whatever it is. They've started assimilating and taking out these things. And the most chilling part is they're holding hands and almost quarantining this section. It's a giant link of hands, okay? And, they're realizing that these things are cutting off stuff, and they're not moving, they're not attacking anymore, they're just linking up together, okay? And there's this thing in the beginning called the Handheld Initiative, and it's about people working together and holding hands and smiling. There's some BS, probably a nod to the SJW's wonderful views. Sorry, SJWs, but once again, you're easy. So, they're all, like, holding hands in solidarity. And now, the car that they took from the people, they've escaped, and there's a scene where the girl kills her doppelganger, and it's a big car chase scene, yada, 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 and, she flings this thing off of her, and it dies, and whatever. So we're like 2 doppelgangers down, and we're going through And now she sees the son's doppelganger. And this part has to be highlighted because it's brilliant and it's a callback to something that the son put together. So, unbeknownst to them, through their wacky shenanigans, there's been a cut in the fuel gauge. So there's leaking like maybe gas or some kind of fuel, and the son stops the car. Now we don't know that he knows that there's fluid leaking from the car, but he's standing there and he's got a match in his hand. And this thing always carries matches. I assume it got burned, and when you see it underneath his mask, its face is all burnt up, so it likes to play with fire. And the son brilliantly deduces when he looks down that the car is leaking fluid, and Lupita's trying to reach out to this thing because she feels some sort of connection, I guess because, that's essentially her kids. And she's trying to talk to it, and this thing's letting her talk, and it's setting a trap. It's got the match in its hand, and the son sees a burning car behind the creature, and then he puts together that the creature has to move with him. So he starts stepping backwards, and he goes, "Mom, it's a trap, everyone, go." And they run to the side. The father gets out of the car, the daughter gets out of the car, they scatter, and the son backs up. And then in one of the most beautiful scenes shot during the day, the son backs up enough for the other son, his shadow self, to go into the fire and be burnt alive. And here's the haunting part. The thing doesn't scream in pain. It screams out almost in joy. And it's so disturbing because it was like it was born in the fire and it returns in the fire. You see what I'm saying? The different meanings that Jordan's throwing out there, right? This shadow thing was born in a fiery, dark place, and now it returns to that. And it's some powerful imagery in that. It's this powerful setup and delivery of a scene. And as the son steps back, in the shadows of another car is Lupita's shadow self. And she snatches up the boy. So now... yeah. So now you have the family in disarray. And she very smartly, Lupita's other self, the good self, very smartly ushers the family along. And here's where they don't take away from the male. Here's where they make the male a protective figurehead. She tells him, "Watch after our daughter, get our daughter to safety. I've got to go and get our son." And it's an acknowledgement of like, "Hey honey, this is bad, we have to split up, but you take our daughter, you protect her, and I'll be back for you." And I love it. And through this, you see her character slowly building more confidence, because in the beginning, remember I said she was a little scared of everything, a little nervous, and now she's building confidence as she's going along, and we're buying her as a strong female character. Because here's the trials, she starts off here, and she's starting to end up here. She's starting to gain her confidence. She wants to go off on her own. She wants to face her demons. It's all leading back to where she was first abducted as a kid, that fun house, right? That's where the character's leading for this final showdown, and you're feeling it. And you're with this character because they built these characters up through the family dynamic to be likable, to be lovable. And you don't want to see anything bad happen to the son. You don't want to see anything bad happen to the husband or the daughter. It's brilliant storytelling. It's brilliant character development. Character building is on display. From the husband, you see the joyful glee side of him that shows all through the movie, but he's still in action mode. He's still like, "Yeah, honey, I got you. I'm going to take our daughter and we're going to go. I'm on one leg, but she can help me limp." And they find an ambulance and they hide. And I love it, because he finds the ambulance so that he can patch up his leg. Everything is like netted together and patched up well. Now here we go. We're on the grand finale. This is where demons must be faced, right? This is where the character, the hero's journey has been leading us this whole time. Lupita facing the tragedy, seeing herself as a kid for the first time. They've got to have a showdown. She's got to discover, why is this thing after me? Why does it hate me so much? Why? What is going on? And so, they do the cutscenes, and you find out in the funhouse there was a secret door. And underneath that seeker's door is a whole, like, subdivision of tunnels. And these things do exist. There's millions of tunnels and mine shafts and things we don't know about where they build stuff, and they've been there for years and no one knows about them, right? And that's the brilliant part of the movie. These things were using subterranean means and different tunnels and different things that were forgotten about, and they used them to come up to the surface. Alright, and then Lupita's shadow self. They meet in this hauntingly eerie classroom where I assume the creatures got lessons. And she explains a little bit about what the tethered are. That they are shadow selves of each individual person. She doesn't know who created them, but she knows that they were created as a sense of trying to control something. But one thing the scientists couldn't do, or whoever's behind it, because they don't tell you. One thing that they couldn't do is, there's one thing humans have that you can't clone, and that's the soul. So when they get tethered to a person, they're essentially sharing the soul, and that's why they mimic each other. That's why the shadow can't step out of bounds. But something happened between the two main characters, something beautiful. When Lupita was scarred in the beginning, she couldn't talk after the incident. She was frightened, I guess. That's what's implied. And then she took up dancing, and she does this one beautiful dance, and they highlight this dance. And during that dance, something happens. It's implied that the tether between the two of them got thinner, or it broke. Through that dance, they each found their purpose. And now the one creature took it as a purpose from God to start this rebellion, to start this movement, to start these creatures coming up, these shadow selves coming up, and taking their place in the sun. And Lupita took it as, her normal self took it as a beautiful artistic dance that finally liberated her to talk and come out of her shell. And she was in front of all of these people and accepted and loved. So each of them took their own thing. And now remember in the beginning, messaging? This is a message about duality. This is a message about how if you had a doppel of yourself, that each of ourselves would take one thing or another from a shared experience. So you have Lupita's character, the good one, who takes this experience as liberating her with the ability to talk, and the evil one, the shadow self, took this as a sign from God that she was meant to lead these people. Because after the dance, all of the creatures, all of these shadow doppelgangers followed her. They followed her, and they took direction from her, and they weren't meant to. They were meant to be tethered to their others. And they broke the tether for a little bit. They thinned the line so that they can move on their own and they can rise up. And it's a beautiful message about the duality within ourselves, that we are tethered to both the good and the evil sides of each other. That trying to break that, one can't really break from the other, yet these two somehow did. And these two led different kind of lives, and they interpreted their experience differently. One took it as they're a god amongst these people and they're going to leave them their freedom. The other took it as she can finally speak. She can come out of her shell. This horrific experience doesn't have to define her. And it's so beautiful. And oh my gosh, the fight scene. I sincerely thought while watching this, I was feeling the tension that I've never felt before in a movie in a couple of years. I really felt like this character could die, like her life was in danger. This tether self, it knows her movements. It knows what she's gonna do before she does it. And they're having the most elegant, beautiful fight scene in this movie. The most beautiful fight scene that doesn't have to be gory, but it's so well choreographed that she is dancing to the original dance while dodging a poker that this girl's got and stabbing her with the scissors. Yeah, the daughter was scary, and I touched on that. I've been going through this, for all of you who just jumped in, I've been going through this movie scene for scene because I felt like it needed to be highlighted, and I touched on how the daughter was really scary. I told him about that hilarious scene where she jumps on the car and the dude comes out and goes, "Hey, why are you on my car?" and gets shanked. I thought that was hilarious. And I was talking about how, the media interprets this as it's a stab at America, but it's not. When you get to that final scene and you're looking, you realize something beautiful. He is not talking about America. He's not talking about politics. He's not talking about SJW stuff. He throws in buzzwords so that the media can run with it, and this is the brilliance of Jordan Peele. He knows that he's got to get this movie promoted, so what does he do? He's coming off of Get Out. He's like, I got to do an artificial check. I gotta do the artificial check boxes, in the SJW minds, so that their small little narrow minds can comprehend my field. But no, for us logical thinkers, he puts in good Easter eggs. And you start to realize, as a critical thinker, you're seeing, wait a second, this movie isn't about a statement. This movie is about me. This movie is about you. This movie is about duality. Them being copies is literally a duality. The shadows are dualities of our own personality personified. If you have one good, the copy is evil. And when they made these things, they couldn't harness all of our essence. So in turn, they got all of the garbage that we feel. They got the evilness, they got all of the stuff that we hold back and we suppress. And that's the beautiful part about this film. When you get to that final fight scene and you see the dance and he's playing that beat that plays throughout the trailers, when he plays that to great effect, because even the music isn't wasted in this film, and she does that gorgeous dance, you can see this creature getting the upper hand. Now, Lupita has been stabbed in the shoulder, she's been stabbed on her side. I mean, this thing is cutting her up with, precision I've never seen. Okay? And they go into this little room. The room where this creature was locked in. The room where she was forced to live all these years. Where she was subjected to all of these horrible, horrendous things. This battle has to end where it all started. And it's beautiful. It's got to be a full circle moment. And it is. Because in that moment, the thing hides, thinking it has the upper hand, and then all of a sudden you see something. You see the real one, the real Lupita, snap. And she realizes that she can also telegraph her moves. And it's not a far-fetched kill. She literally, it's like a spider sense. She senses that this thing is behind her with the scissors. Bam! Jabs her. And not only jabs her, but now here's where you see the change. Here's where you see the character switch. She's watching her die, and she's had empathy to the kids, but when she looks at her shadow self, there's nothing there. It's as if she just, I don't know, if it's supposed to a snap or something, but she just, her motherly instincts maybe, they kick in, and truly a really horrific death. She takes the handcuffs, and this could even be interpreted as symbolic, right? She's worn these cuffs this whole entire time. I mean, even that damn handcuffs are symbolism, right? She's worn these handcuffs. She's been tied down this whole entire movie. And she takes the handcuffs and she links them together around her neck and breaks her neck. And in that moment, she looks down, and the key to her freedom, the key to these cuffs, is in the other doppelgangers around her neck. Implying that her killing this doppelganger was essentially the freedom to the cuffs that bind her, to the tragedy she faced, to the reason why she couldn't talk so many years ago. This is her liberating herself, and she lets out an eerie scream, kind of like they do, and she frees herself from the cuffs. And part of her is laughing, part of her is crying. There's a good range of emotion because she's feeling the symbolism of being finally free. The handcuffs are both a physical and metaphorical freedom that these two characters needed to have. You feel like this couldn't end any other way. One of them had to go. one of them had to leave the other one behind. And this is the brilliance, this is the thought bubble that is this movie, right? Because when you watch it the first time, so many things are going on, you're not catching the subtle message. That's why I watched it the second time with a notepad. You're not seeing all of the little things that are leading up to this. You're not seeing the messaging of duality and the messaging of how we all have these hidden things. You know, he's sliding it in really subtly, lots of subtext, right? And a big statement at the end that if you're not watching for it, you don't pick it up, right? So she kills her doppelganger self, goes all full, you know, she-woman, you know, yay. We'll translate into that. And she looks for her son, and she realizes her son likes to hide, right? Highlighted in the movie, he hides in the closet, all of this stuff, and she finds him in the locker, and she embraces him, and then something happens. And now, here's the clue about the plot twist at the very end. Something happens. The son looks at her, and he doesn't look at her the same. She has the love and embrace from the beginning, but he's distant. He's pulling away, as if he knows something that we don't know, but that she knows, and that he knows, and we can't pick up on it yet, right? So yada yada yada. They get to the ambulance, beautiful slow motion scene. They're driving and they're looking at this link, and she's looking at it, and she drives around. Now here's the ending. Here's the plot twist. Here's the M. Night Shyamalan twist that Shyamalan should have took notes. Through this whole movie, you have been seeing little clips of what she has been seeing in her mind of the events that happened the infamous day she went into this funhouse. Now she's replaying them. And now we get the whole story from her perspective. And what happened? She goes to the funhouse, right? She sees the shadow self. But the shadow self grabs her by the throat, knocks her out, pulls her into their little thingy. And here's where it gets chilling. The whole entire time, we assumed that the shadow beast, the doppelganger, was the bad guy. It was the original Lapita who was trapped underneath there. She was chained up. The thing takes her shirt. And the reason why she wasn't able to talk so many years was because the doppelgangers couldn't form speech. So when she got out of it, she didn't know how to talk because she never learned. So this whole time, the person you've been rooting for, the person you think you've got an emotional connection to, the person you think is the real Lapita, is the doppelganger the whole time. And here's where the mind trip comes in. This thing that's not supposed to have a soul, that's not supposed to have a connection, something happened and it took her life. It fell in love. It had kids. It saw the outside. And Lapita's real self got trapped. Was with the other doppelgangers. Was stuck. Could not get out. Didn't know where she was. She was a young girl. Didn't know how to get out. And the reason why they could both form speech and why the other one sounded like when she talked was because when the girl grabbed her in the beginning, she crushed her larynx. So the reason why she talked slow and maniacal wasn't because she was evil, it was because the doppelganger had destroyed her center of speech. So this whole time, the doppelganger had made the family, had made the life. The thing that's supposed to be evil in this film was actually a protagonist and an antagonist. And he drives home in a chilling, which is why I said in the spoiler I wanted to give this away, but it was so hard not to. In the beginning of the film, it ends the same way with the family driving off. And the most haunting thing, that part I talk about at the ending with the acting, the son... Thank you, Emery. And by the way, I don't know if you got the video, but I did a shout out. It was called a thank you to a fan, so that one was for you. Thank you for your comments and everything. I did a breakdown of what I thought of your video, which I don't do for other videos. I don't like to critique other YouTubers. I feel it's in poor taste, but I did a very nice critique for you, so you're welcome. You're welcome. You've been following me and listening to me talk, which, someone should get a medal for that. YouTube EV. I don't know how you do it. But anyways, you find out that the shadow self was actually in the family dynamic this whole time. And it makes you rethink and re-question the whole entire movie, which is so brilliant. Because now you're like, oh my god, these things... Exactly, PB. Exactly, I agree, thank you. These things weren't actually... Were they evil at all? Or were they just wanting to share the light? Were they wanting to experience joy and laughter and love like all of us get? And all they got was hatred, and they had to eat raw rabbit, and they had to mimic their counterparts. They had to become puppets. They were created to be puppets of ourselves. And Lupita's duality, the actual real one, was creating a way for all of them to come up and enjoy the sunlight. And when you come out of the theater, you're like, man, wow. I literally came out and I was like, wow, how do I review this without spoiling? How do I review this movie without telling you guys how deep and philosophical that is? It's such a... And these idiots on the talk shows, they're going to run their mouth and go, oh, it's about America and the red represents Republican. No, there's no messaging like that. It's not, yes, in a sense it is about America, but it's about us. And the title now makes sense. Us is just not the family. Us is not the U.S. Us is us as people. It's us as individuals. The whole movie is about individuality. It's about duality. It's about the nature of people themselves. It is about human beings. It's about the good and evil that lies within all of us. And that is one side truly evil than the other? If these things are forced to be like us, why are they so much different? Sure, they did bad things throughout this film, but why did they do those bad things? Because we locked it away. We sheltered it. We ignored it. That's what the room symbolizes. Who cares who built the room? Who cares who started the experiment? That's what he's saying. That's not the point. The point is, the things were still trapped. They were suppressed. If you want to look at it philosophically, it's the things we suppress as people. The feelings we lock away. The things we keep deep down inside in our soul that we don't want people to see. That is what us is about. Us is all about duality, individuality. It's about these things couldn't express themselves and they grew angry. They grew mad. They grew jealous of the other side. So they took the other side. And I really feel like it's a message about how we suppress so much and eventually it could overtake us. That's what the messaging is. That's what the duality is. It is a struggle within the person itself. And I think overarchingly he's saying politics and messaging and all of the garbage you see, it doesn't matter. It's up to the individual. This movie's about individuality. It's brilliant. And these idiots don't pick up on it. That's what's so funny. And I think he knew what they were going to say. And he's like, yeah, I guess, if that's what you take from the movie. I've seen interviews. But he's said in interviews, too, it's about the individual. It's about the dual nature of a person. That's what this whole film is about. And he does it so brilliant because he doesn't call out one side or the other. He says, as a person. He holds up a mirror and he says, as a person, where do you lie? What are you doing? Who cares about the noise around you, right? Those things might influence you, but the choices you make are your own. These things were left in a terrible situation, but Lupita's actual original self, if you want to call it that, made the choice to rise up against all of the other normal people, right? So that was a choice it made. It chose to kill people. It chose to be violent. while she chose to assimilate and integrate and find out what this living experience is like. And there's so much socially and stuff that you can read into it, yes, but there's also a human aspect you can read into it. The humanity is what's on display here. It's us. I mean, it's not U.S., okay? You could, if you're trying to go for politics, you could read, oh, it's about the U.S. No, it's not, because it's just saying us. If it said USA, it'd be more clear, but it just says us. And even now, the messaging, the posters all make sense to me now. The movie is about us. It's about people. It's about what we do, what we suppress, how we feel, how we act, how we put on a show, how we wear makeup, and how we try to dress up and look nice for people, and all of these things. But in the end, are we suppressing something dark and deep inside? Are we keeping it in that basement? And will it leak out? Will it come out? And will it change who we are as individuals? That is some powerful, deep stuff. And that's why I like this movie more than Get Out, because it's subtext. And I enjoy subtext. I enjoy good, poignant subtext in a movie where he's not making a jerky statement. He's not putting anyone down. He's saying, hey, here's a mirror. Hold it up. What do you see? What do you see in you? What do you see in your persona? And what you portray. That's what this movie is about. And I think this movie really highlights you can take away from it anything you want to. If you are a self-centered, egotistical journalist, you can run with the whole "it's about America" thing. If you are an SJW, you can say it's about a strong, empowered, female African-American woman. If you're a clear thinker, like most of the people subscribe to my channel, you can take it as it's a story about you. It's a story about who are you? What are you in your core? Do you change who you are during circumstances to mirror what's going on around you? You're welcome. Do you change what you are as a person? Or do you stick true to who you are? Can you go through a horrific ordeal like this family and come out the other end the same? This character does. At the end, and when she's looking at all the people behind her, she still feels the family dynamic. The boy's perspective is now changed, and we don't know how that's going to end. He leaves it to your imagination. Is the son going to ever see the mother the same again, knowing what he knows? Can he get past that? She clearly can. She saw this as she had to kill herself, she did, and she's the ruling one, and, you know, she deserves the life she has. And for us, the audience, maybe she does. You know, she was a clone that managed to assimilate but really feel things. So does that really make her evil? And the evil one, is the doppelganger really evil because she was forced to be with these genetically altered things, these dead people? Does that make her evil? For wanting to see the sunlight? For wanting to experience the same things that her shadow self has? There is no good or evil winner in this one, okay? There really isn't a winner. It's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of who you think. I mean, with that ending, I mean, my mind was blown. It's like, it's a matter of who you are more invested in, I guess. I mean, really the choice is yours by the end of the film. When you get to that, you're speechless because it's like, God, I don't know who's good in this. I don't know who's evil. And that's the point. No one is good and no one is evil. It's all perspective. And it's beautiful, and I love it, and I will watch anything Jordan Peele puts out if it's like this, if it's got good messaging. So thank you, Jordan, for giving me a really mind-altering look into different things that I would have never looked into before. So in close, thank you for this long-winded breakdown. It had to be an hour, and that's really abridging a lot of great stuff. And if you haven't seen the movie and you weren't spoiled by this, or you're like, okay, hearing this, it's great. What does Soy call? Ah, that pain in my behind, man. Soy call. Gosh. Who knows what he's doing right now? He's probably like in his fluffy slippers, watching another season of Dawson's Creek. Okay, I tell you. I've been trying to catch him. I can't. He just like he dips in and dips out, and then I'm like, oh, he streamed something, you know? God. You know, what is Soy called? I don't even think he knows what he is. Shout out to Nerdrotic. Look, how creepy is that? Talk about us, man. That duality right there, he's just creepy. I'm sure he said some stuff about me too. Whatever. You know what, Soy? If you watch this. Yeah, actually, I have my cup of coffee right here. I stay glued to it because, otherwise I wouldn't be able to bring these late streams to you. I'd be dead right now. But I'm going to get up out of here. Thank you very much for watching the channel. Thank you for everyone who, hit that melee button. Us is a great movie. Watch it. It's about duality. It's about originality. It's about people. And the title highlights that. Now when you look at it, I hope you go, wow, us. It really is a film about us. This literally is a shout out to the fans. And I respect Jordan, and I love him for the fact that he doesn't disrespect us. He built himself a nice fan base with Get Out, and he's not pandering to these guys. He's fake pandering by putting in little weak messaging here and there so that the media can still hype him up. And yet he brilliantly is talking to the intelligent viewer, and he's not treating us like idiots. He's leaving us Easter eggs that a smart thinking person will pick up. And Jordan is so amazing in his writing. I never knew as a comic he had this, but he did do brilliant sketches in Kenan and Peele. And so I can see where some of his writing really comes in handy. And I'm calling it now. This might be more of a psychological thriller, but I'm really gonna start putting him up there in some of the horror grades. I mean, it's not here. They'll hype this movie up and say it's the best horror movie. It's not, okay? When you go into best horror movie, you're talking John Carpenter and Wes Craven and, all of the greats, John Landon and all of those people. But, he's getting there. I think you give him a movie or two, he's working on his magnum opus, and Us is getting pretty close. Whatever he puts out next, I have a strong feeling it's going to be so strong, because he's honing his craft, and he is tightening up his writing, and he is building a style all of his own in 2 movies. Hollywood, start employing this guy to write scripts, because, God, you guys need ideas. And this is original. Doppelgangers have been done before. It could have been done poorly, but this was an original spin. And that's what you need. You need originality. And Jordan, you got it in spades, buddy. You got it in spades. So, that's my review for the night. If you like it, please hit that melee button. Please subscribe to the channel. Please spread the love. Anyone you see on these live streams and you see their name, please sub to them, because I'm all about sharing in the community and caring and sharing and caring. Love is all that we preach here, and inclusiveness. SJW plug, so you don't try to shut me down, alright? I still gotta build some momentum here. Anyways, until next time, thank you very much. I love all of you, and as always, me and soon my plush cat is coming, but me and Goose the Cat will see you